you can't Niba?
So you pretty much flow with the goal.
I come to the right place now.
Post Rolls Jiu Jitsu Podcast.
Welcome to the Post Rolls Podcast. I'm Miles. This is Nick. We have in the house Javier Showtime Vazquez. It's an honor to have you here, sir. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming down from LA and rolling with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Man, thank you. That meant a lot. So that's the point of this podcast. We like to roll a little bit and then chat about what's interesting. And you've had a super interesting career, and now you are delivering jiu-jitsu information in a super cool way. And so I'm excited to talk about that along with a few other things. So yeah, thanks again for being here. And we got two King of the Cage champions here. I'm surrounded by King of the Cage champions. And
you fought for King of the Cage?
I was their first champion.
Really?
Dang, number one.
That's cool.
All right.
That's cool.
I'm just a butt-scooting jiu-jitsu guy that doesn't like to get punched in the face. So it's my honor to be here with you guys.
That's it changed a lot from when I was the champ. It was much cooler when you were in there.
In the beginning?
Yeah, it was much cooler.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. That was a wild time.
Yeah.
Like everybody was coming through. Everybody was fighting on that show.
Yeah.
Shamrock.
Right,
yeah.
Faber
Sakuraba fought on that show once.
Yeah, really?
Everybody fought
Dean
on
Lister?
that show.
Dean Lister from
fought
down.
on that
I was under
show.
Dean down here.
Rampage
fought on that show. Everybody fought on that show.
Yeah.
Rampage was just on Rogan. Anybody watched Rampage on Rogan yet?
No.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
King of the Cage eventually just like devolved into Terry just putting shows where he wanted to go on vacation. And they would just be like,
More or less.
yeah. They'd be like, oh, we're having a show in Thailand now. Oh, really? Why?
I want to go to Thailand. There was a time where we were competing to be like the best show, right?
The feeder.
Even competing with the UFC, because back
really?
in the day, the UFC was only having a few shows a year.
That's true, yeah.
And Terry was trying to make relationships with guys in Japan. That's how he was able to get all the Pride guys to start coming over and fighting. So, and when I was champion, Jens Pulver was champion of the UFC, so I would have loved to have that fight.
Were you the 145 champ?
155.
55?
But wait a minute, you fought Jens Pulver.
I fought him 10 years later.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, to unify the belts? That would be sick.
I always thought that I was a bad style matchup for that guy.
Really?
You know?
You beat him, right?
I did.
Yeah, nice.
So you were right. It only took 10 years to prove it.
Yeah. Basically.
Why did you think you were, what about your style and his style that you thought was in your favor?
He wasn't going to be able to stop me from taking him down at some point.
Yeah.
And I thought my jiu-jitsu was far better.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like you're going to get back up. It wasn't just like, you were going to take damage and get tired being underneath me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So in order for him to knock me out, he has to open up. And in order for him to open up, he's going to be off balance and I'll be able to
Get taken down. Right. Yeah.
So I got to roll with you today. So you surprisingly hold the 300 pounds that you weigh. You surprisingly hold it well in your frame.
Can you do me a small favor? Can you just kind of sit at the end of this table? Because this boom is right in between you and I, and I'm like trying to look at you, but it's hard to. There we go. Yeah, That's much better. There
Little eye contact around here. We've learned today. I think it was if you make eye contact with another man, you either are going to make love or fight.
Today we learned that.
Is that
you and I learned that?
Yeah, that was the Instagram post we were sharing.
No, what? You didn't share it with me.
No, it wasn't you. All right.
It's one of your other men.
Well, that's the case. If you make eye contact,
you're either making love or you're fighting.
That's right.
Well, anyways.
Now you're uncomfortable. We already fought. We don't have to make love anymore.
That's true. That's
Jeez,
what we did.
just relax.
We did. We were rolling today, and something was in deep half, and I was stuck under his crotch for quite a while. And I popped up, got on top, and he was like, well, I'm going to need a Plan B pill now.
Yeah, it's gross. It's part of what jiu-jitsu is. Though, huh?
You just got to take your mind somewhere where it's like, no, those aren't his balls in my face.
For sure.
Oh, when you roll into class and it's like North-South day, you're like, oh, man.
It's never North-South day in my gym.
Every Wednesday is North-South Wednesdays.
So you fought King of the Cage, UFC. Did you fight Jens in the UFC?
I fought him in the WEC.
WC, okay.
WEC,
WC on top of that, and then ADCC too, huh?
Yeah, I fought in Shudo. I fought everywhere.
Yeah.
So Pancrase and Shudo, they were similar? Or?
They were similar, but they were kind of competing organizations. In Shudo, you can punch, and Pancrase, everything was like open hand.
Open hand, right? Yeah. The Boss Rutan days, right?
Do you remember? I heard a statistic that the WEC, the size of the ring was so much smaller that the amount of knockouts they had like skyrocketed difference because of the UFC.
I think that that cage favors the grappler for sure. There's a smaller cage; you don't have to. Easier to kind of corner a guy.
Really?
And get
That's what I found with King of the Cage. It was always nice because I always knew like we're gonna clinch eventually.
Yeah, it's like 10 feet smaller or something.
King of the Cages in WEC.
WEC to the UFC was I think 10 feet smaller, 7 feet smaller.
Yeah.
So you think it favors the grappler and the striker?
No, I think it favors the grappler.
Because if you're like trying to keep the guy away from you, right? You're trying to like just stay away from their grappling. You're gonna run into each
Bigger
other.
cage is better for strikers.
Yeah.
For strikers, but I mean the statistic I heard was more knockouts with a smaller cage.
I mean, you're closer together.
So
Maybe like when there are two strikers, right? Then
Yeah.
it's more likely that you're not going to play as much of a distance game. Harder to like keep someone on the outside.
Yeah, it's a smaller ring, smaller cage.
Yeah.
what was your favorite organization to fight with?
I think the WEC and the UFC were basically the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they were the most organized. You know. King of the Cage was crazy when I was fighting it.
Why? So you were the first one of the first champions they had?
Yeah.
How's
I
the
was the
belt
first
look?
Hall of Famer.
Oh, respect, sir. Sorry, I didn't do my research to know that. But that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was crazy. That's when they were having all the shows outside, and some
Oh, yeah,
some days
that's
were
right.
freaking hot. Some days were raining.
Like the studio.
Yeah, like hot.
keep
like,
it hot in here.
Like the mat was like 150 degrees hot.
Was it really?
Guys
Oh,
were
really?
getting burned and
The
stuff.
feet were burning.
Yeah,
Dang, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
yeah, it was crazy.
When you did compete in ADCC, were you still fighting MMA?
I took some time off. I tore my ACL for the third time, so then I was taking some time off. And when I started to come back, I did ADCC in 2005. I won ADCC trials in 2005.
Oh, you won trials?
Yeah,
Oh man, that's cool.
I know.
That's the cooler way to get in.
Yeah.
I feel like.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's a hotly debated thing for myself. Coming from MMA and into jiu-jitsu, it bothers me when jiu-jitsu guys call matches fights.
I mean, let them believe whatever they want to believe. If you want to start standing up, you're going to get knocked out. If you start pulling guard on me, you're going to get kneed in the face. So
People be like, "Oh yeah, I fought him," and like, "Oh, did you? When did that happen?"
You had matches. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that there's a lot of things. A lot of language is very important.
Sorry.
That was a gong. Language is very important, and I've been very selective with the language, whether I say bypassing the legs and not passing the guard, or whether there's a lot of examples that the language kind of dictates your behavior a little bit.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and your decisions. It influences your decisions, whether you want to believe it or not. So, my jiu-jitsu is always about being effective. Does it work? That's all that matters.
Strike-based jiu-jitsu is your system. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. And that's is it JV Jiu-Jitsu? You have like a cool short website too.
Yeah, JV Jiu-Jitsu is kind of like the branding, but I designed the system for rapid skill development, high levels of effectiveness, high levels of efficiency, and punch defense throughout. So whether we're wearing a gi, no gi, punches, no punches, it doesn't matter. We can roll. By rolling the same way, we start to produce the same kind of behaviors on our opponents. Our behavior will dictate your behavior. So my question is, what causes 95% of all your problems in jiu-jitsu? What body part causes 95% of all your problems? What opponent body part? If we're rolling, which part of your body causes me 95% of the problem?
Causes hands,
right?
I'd say hands.
The hands.
Oh,
so
hands,
so my
okay.
whole entire system is designed
Fuck me,
around controlling people's hands.
No,
Okay.
you do have a lot of wrist
Yeah, I
pins
noticed that with
and
this
wrist
guy.
control.
It's like, let go of my,
So-
let go of my
He's got
hands.
Hit him. Hit him.
I could tell
Hit
that
me.
he-
Okay.
Whether we roll with or without strikes, the result is the same. The result is you're not going to be able to hit me, whether you think, like,
you're
oh, I'm
holding
going to
it.
turn it on right now and hit you. No, you're not. You're going to do the same thing that we were doing before.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be better at it because now I can staple and hit you in between transitions.
It's like a lot of C clamps and stuff and double 2-on-1. Do you do a lot of 2-on-1?
I do 2-on-1. I optimize the control on the hand to maximize the effectiveness of the grip. So what optimizing control causes higher levels of effectiveness and higher levels of efficiency. So I talk about the fatiguing mechanism. There's ways to fatigue an opponent.
Yeah, you're relentless. I told you when we were rolling, it was just like, yeah, you're all over me. Yeah, it's hard to get off the bottom.
It's hard to get off the bottom.
Yeah.
I am able to generate tension. I'm able to generate anxiety from the top. There's a way to do it as well from the bottom. So even if you got on top of me, you still felt you were working. Yeah, there's a reason for it. Like you're able to do it from the top to the bottom through gravity. That's pretty easy. Most people can kind of get that. But the way you're able to do it from the bottom to the top is to control the configuration, and also kind of by controlling the configuration using frames and angles, the opponent on top starts to counter by squeezing. So now you're constantly squeezing to hang on to me. Well, if you're squeezing and I'm framing,
Yeah.
and we go 3 minutes, 4 minutes,
I'm
5
gonna get tired
minutes.
before you. Yeah.
So did you hear that little like buzz? That's the ghost of Helio Gracie. Just comes back and blesses the podcast when something interesting pops up.
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
you know.
So he approves. a
Yeah,
lot
no,
of what
he
you're
dug
saying.
that. He was like, yeah, that's right. Keep it self-defense. We're not about those points.
So when you roll at
Wrist
your
control.
school, do you do like open hand strikes and
Yeah,
stuff?
we do.
or-
We do MMA on Wednesdays, but yeah, I mean, whenever I want to, I can start hitting whenever.
Yeah, but I mean, your students, like when your students are training, like when you're teaching that and you go apply it live, how do you simulate it in sparring?
Of course, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
sure.
there's drills like without having to hit the person. If I can just touch your face, I don't have to even
Yeah.
hit your face, but just the direction of my hand going towards your face, there's ways to deflect it, and it kind of builds muscle memory to get you to understand how to stop that from happening, how to stop their hands from reaching your face. And then most punches are looping anyway, so it makes it even easier to swim your hand to the inside. So.
When aside from the obvious things, like the obvious positions that you take out of sport jiu-jitsu, what's the biggest thing that you feel like you have to change when striking is available in grappling?
From the top or from the bottom?
When you're on the bottom.
When you're on the bottom, you have to be controlling the hands to the inside. And inside control is king. Manage the inside control, manage the distance, fill the space when the person starts to make space. My behavior from guard and side mount starts to generate an opponent behavior of it's like a what do I call it, Nick? When the person repellent behavior. Repellent behavior. I'm able to make you feel like getting off of me. What I'm trying to do, I was telling Nick on the way here, what we've been able to figure out how to do is I'm able to kind of hack into your mind and make you feel like doing certain things. The certain things that you feel like doing are the same things that I want you to do. So I'm kind of tricking you into doing what I want you to do. So for example, if you're on top of me in side mount and I say, ready, set, go, I got to get out. If I start to push you, you naturally start to pull back. It's the law of opposite reactions. If I go to push you, you're going to kind of pull back. So when you're in that position, you don't have an angle to frame. Your hands are kind of very compressed, and they have gravity on their side. The level of efficiency and effectiveness to try and push somebody off of you from side mount and bring the knee in. So now you're activating the central point. So now that's activated. So now you're burning there as well. It's all of these mechanisms kind of go against my advantage. It's more advantageous for the guy on top to just sit there and hold than it is for me to try to make this happen. Now, if I'm able to make a configuration shift and bring my hands in front of your face and I can frame on your neck on the magical spot, great. Yeah, now I can kind of maintain a little bit of distance. But so long as I'm not able to do that, I'm kind of working against myself. So what I try to do from the bottom is I work my way from the inside out. I'm framing on the inside. I know that if you're arm is under my elbow, I'm stuck. But if I'm framing on your forearm, hand, whatever.
Did you say the magical spot? Is that your spot, or we all have one?
We all have one.
All right,
We all have one.
Nick's got one over there. We got Nick in the house too. One of your students is over here.
Nick will vouch
Yeah.
for my madness.
Show me your magical spot, Nick. I'm gonna see.
It's right here. It's right here.
All right, all right.
It's
that's not what I thought it was going to be.
huh?
That's not what I thought it was going to be.
Nick, put that down. Sit down.
It's a place where you can sustain weight.
Okay.
Like, for example, a lot of people come underneath the neck from the bottom to try to frame, and they end up framing kind of low on the wrist.
Yeah,
There's no
it's kind of
power
right
here.
frame. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not
Oh, you gotta-
effective. So if you frame it here, it changes everything. Now you're
Right.
not having to hold with the amount of tension that it takes to maintain the weight is very little compared to the amount of tension and pressure I'm able to do it from here. So what happens is when I start framing and working my way from the inside out or working for the far side underhook or swimming the arm off the head, my behaviors start to make the person start to hang on. Well, if I'm framed and you're squeezing, but it's easy for me to hold this, and we do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it's a built-in fatiguing mechanism. So every exchange of energy, I want it to be in my benefit. So every exchange of energy, you notice you're exerting a whole lot, and I'm not exerting a whole lot. Whether it's the optimized control, whether it's the unsustainable 45, whether it's controlling the inside knee, there's ways to prevent the legs from engaging in the battle. You felt that a little bit. It was just very difficult to put me back in guard.
Yeah, not Nick's legs though. He kept getting his legs in.
I figured out the solution to that little problem.
Okay.
Very recently. He's not happy about it. But yeah. I figured out that little solution. But yeah, so there's multiple things that we can do, and I've kind of named these things.
Super cool.
The unattainable angle, like if you pass and you're in side mount, the legs are very close. The knee is very close to the hip, so you're within range to kind of get yourself back to guard. But if you circle to where my weight is over one shoulder or the other, it's the most difficult angle for you to get your legs are as far away as possible
Right.
to engage. So then what that starts to do is it starts to motivate you to do something. It starts to motivate you to
Turtle.
You have to.
Right.
There's no chance. What are you going to do? Stay in side mount? You have guard. Guard is not, I call guard the illusion of salvation.
Oh, wow. Well, you got some good, naming behind stuff.
Yeah, everything is thought through because if I can eliminate guard, if there's a way that we can eliminate guard, and most of it is based on just angle. Just the angle makes it unsustainable. You can't reach where you're trying to get to. That creates a lot of fatigue because the guy's abs are activated, their hips are activated, their thighs are activated.
Yeah.
I call that engaging the central point. So the longer I can keep that central point engaged by moving your knee, by rolling you over, until you turn to turtle. Then when you turn to turtle, now my weight is on
the hips.
Now it's on top of
So
you.
when you say engaging the central point, you mean like I'm squeezing my core basically.
Yes,
Right.
I force you
clenching.
I force you to squeeze your core. Now the squeezing of the core is there's 3 substantial angles that we're dealing with, and one common idea. The common idea is bringing the knee towards the shoulder. So if you think of the movement of bringing your knee towards your shoulder, we have a 90 degree, we have a 45 degree, and then we have a 45 degree on the positive side. Anything where the 45 degree is on the inner side where you're stronger, you roll the guy away. You notice how I kept rolling you away? Every time that you get, roll away. So you're like, dude, either A, you turn to your knees, or B, you I call it acceptance. You accept and you just let me pass your guard and stay in side mount. If you get it to 90 is a good place to engage and then roll him away. If the knee is positive, now you're just pushing it down. Now you're over the top of it, if that makes sense, if you're in the guard, right? Now they can't come back. Again, by stopping the knee from coming to the shoulder, it activates your abs, it activates your back, it activates your hips, it activates your thighs, it activates everything. And so long as I can keep that engagement going, it is just draining
burning.
you. It's a fatiguing mechanism.
Their power bar is just...
It's slowly just ticking down.
Ultimately, like it's making it harder to breathe. right? Because I'm like clinching.
So then we get to the breath work. So let me explain to you the way this works. So whenever you pass somebody's guard, you can take what I call a recovery breath. You can take a deep breath in, you can breathe out, and you basically clear out your lungs. Maybe your breath is a little bit elevated.
After you pass the guard on top.
After you pass the guard, when you got on top.
Yeah.
I call that a recovery breath.
Okay.
Right? So it's a tension shift. The tension shifted from me being on top and making you feel uncomfortable. And then you finally got me off, and then you were able to take that.
Right.
I call that a recovery breath.
Okay.
That breath is not possible so long as you're under tension. So long as that central point is engaged, you're under tension. You can regulate it, you can sustain it for a little bit, and it's a bit of a mental exercise to dial in what's burning and then get rid of it through your breath, or kind of do a little bit of an oxygen loading to load up the oxygen before you hit your scramble, so you're able to sustain the scramble a little bit longer. But so long as I am able to keep my hands on you, my contact, my attention on you, you can't clear. No matter what, you can't clear until you get that. Either A, you disengage. Once the energy is broken, once the link is broken, you disengage and you face the guy, you can recover. If you go from top to bottom, that's a major tension shift. You can recover. Sometimes it's as simple as framing the neck. You can recover. Sometimes it's easy as
Create
getting
some
in the
space.
There's certain configuration shifts which cause tension shifts, and you're able to kind of slowly recover. So long as I keep you engaged, you can't clear it out. So what tends to happen is it just keeps building, and there's a spot in your lung that you just can't clear, and it just keeps building. So what starts happening is your mind starts to think about that. Hey, I got to start going. So now you start to shift your mindset from being present, being calm, being rational, being reasonable, to now you're reactive. Now you're chasing. Now you're scrambling. Now you're hustling. Now you're trying to kind of get to neutral. Now you feel like you're -1. You're not at 0. You're like a -1. So now you're kind of trying to double pay. What do they call it? Double
time?
Double time. Thank you. You're trying to double time just to kind of get to
harder.
0. And I just keep you there. And I just keep you there. So then what starts happening is you start going from reactive to absolute panic.
Yeah.
So what starts to happen from the top, is it better for me to finish you if you're facing me or if you're facing away from me?
Facing away.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right?
Choke that guy.
Of course.
Yeah.
So my built-in mechanism makes you do what I want you to do too. I want you to turn away. You're super happy to turn away because of what you're dealing with, the internal experience that you're feeling in your mind, the dysregulation with the breath, the constant tension, the levering, the unsustainable 45, the unattainable angle, all this.
I want to turn away from all those things that you just said. That was so many things to put in my head.
It's overwhelming. It's too much. It's such
overwhelmed by all the terms you just used. So you've been a black belt for 22 years, something like that?
Yeah.
That's wild, man. All right. And under Rodrigo Medeiros in San Diego, one of the you said you're the third black belt? Man,
I think I was his third black belt.
Respect to Professor
Rodrigo?
Yeah, Rodrigo.
Yeah,
Did you forget from the last
No, he's
sentence?
he's a friend of the podcast. He's coming on the podcast. Respect.
What? Rodrigo
yeah.
did?
No, he will. He will.
Oh, he
He's
will?
Michael's setting it up for us. Michael's
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Rodrigo's great.
Yeah, he's super cool. So, that's no wonder you have just stacks and stacks, encyclopedias of jiu-jitsu knowledge in your head.
You know, I want to show you guys something.
Sure.
I'll show you guys.
Let's go.
This is kind of
your system?
This has kind of been the process. This has been. I wrote the 16 books in 2011. I started. It took me 4 years to write the books.
You wrote 16 books?
Yes.
I haven't even read 16 books.
So when I started to put everything out, it looked like that.
Hey, is there a way? Oh wait, I might actually. It's okay.
every kind of blue center was like a chapter. So chapter 1, chapter 2.
That's
chapter
the
3.
mind map of your system?
That was the original mind map of the system.
Okay.
So most people said, it's too much. It's too complicated. It's too much. If you look at a tree, it looks like the leaves.
Everybody said that, by the way, not just most people.
Everybody said that. Everybody. So then it was my job to kind of translate.
Oh, so even Hilo Gracie said that.
Is each leg of this tree a position?
Yes, a positional chapter.
Okay.
They're all positional chapters. Side mount top, side mount bottom.
Right.
Those are 2 chapters. Guard top, guard bottom. Those are 2 chapters. Turtle top, turtle bottom. There's 18 total chapters from standing to ground. So then,
Are those clickable?
And those include striking too, right?
No, they're not clickable. But that was the idea, to click on the move and it sends you to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Too complicated.
You
So
remind
then
me
I
of,
came up with version 2.0 and I kind of grouped things together. I kind of simplified things. I still kind of like a circle. If you really know what you're looking at, it's a circle. This was fundamentals, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, What do you see? Too much.
it's a lot.
Too complicated.
Yeah, this is some beautiful mind stuff. This
So-
is like
This type of like jujitsu nerd stuff excites me.
You're gonna love this
Miles
part.
is like, this is too much for me to think about.
I'm gonna make it simple for Miles right now.
okay. Thank you.
So
I
version-
don't like his huge jujitsu
No,
boner
it was
that's
too
happening
much.
over here
It
too.
was too overwhelming. It was too much for people to absorb. And my goal was, again, rapid skill development. How can I make you good fast?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get
Right.
to.
So this is what I came up with. The first thing I started with was JVOS, which is a mindset. We discussed breath work, we discussed strategy, we discussed fatigue generation, we discussed basically strategies and concepts that are invisible.
Oh, okay.
But relentless persistence. There's just a bunch of them. There's the breath work. There's the mind work. There's regulating your breath. There's it's a pretty extensive system. It was like 7 hours. So the first part is the mindset. Let me get you slowly to think in the way that we're thinking, in a simplistic way. Don't just think moves. Forget about moves. Moves are useless, because if you're in a fight, you got to go, look up the move, look up the chapter, look up what you want. And by the time you go through all that processing to get to that move, it's gone. It's too much processing for the individual, so it doesn't work. So I started off with the mindset first, and I said, wait a minute, now there's really 4 positions that we're dealing with: standing, chest to back, chest to chest, and supplemental. That's it.
Okay.
So-
now
so-
I'm in. I'm back in.
So that's it. So standing
Now you
is
speak my language.
So standing is broken up into striking and takedowns,
Okay.
both offense and defense. And those have their own central path. There's a way I strike to get to the clinch, to get to your legs, to get to the top.
These are sexy graphics too. Where can people find these? Can they?
This graphic right here is on jvjujitsuonline.com.
Okay.
So then we go to chest to back. Now, chest to back is 1 position. It's not 4 or it's not 2. It's 1. It's 1 position with a unified goal. The unified goal: trap the arm and attack the neck. Why? Because it's much easier to attack the neck if the arm is trapped. So I'm always
right.
trapping the arm to attack the neck. So the chest to
With
back
or without hooks, right? I mean, like
with
your
or
goal
without
is the
it
same.
doesn't matter. Yeah, the goal is the same because the core position is the same. I call it core positions, right? Chest to back is a core position. Chest to chest is a core position, and supplemental are core positions. So chest to back is turtle and back mount. So that's only 1 position. So now we go to chest to chest. You have guard, side mount, and mount. Okay. So side mount is what I call the central hub. From side mount, it's like Dallas Fort Worth. You can get to any position from side mount. That's the starting point of what I call the meat grinder.
Okay.
Now there's a
I like
relationship.
it.
There's a relationship between side mount and guard. This is where most of the conflict happens. It's bypassing the legs that we're dealing with. But once you understand how to bypass the legs are more or less irrelevant. So now you're only dealing with the relationship between turtle and side mount. Now the relationship between turtle and side mount is a twisting relationship. It's a twisting transition.
Turtle inside.
Well, then what
Okay,
about
I
north
guess.
south?
North-south is the unattainable angle.
Oh, I see. That's
So
Tuesdays.
that's Tuesdays. That's still part of side mount.
You call it side mount. Side mount.
Side
Yeah,
mount.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
all part
Yeah.
of side mount. Neon belly is still side mount.
I see,
Because
yeah,
you're
yeah,
bypassing
yeah.
the legs
I
and you're
gotcha.
on the side,
I gotcha.
right? Mount is where I start my secondary attack strategy. So maybe I transition a mount, and when you transition a mount, now there's a link between the mount and the back. And there is a twisting transition between the mount and the back. So my job is to make that twisting transition as difficult as possible. So by the time you turn, you're not just turning your back, which is my behavior is making you turn your back.
Yeah.
But now you're turning your back out of desperation and because you're tired. As you're turning, I'm looking to trap the arm and attack the neck.
So you were implementing this.
All of this is bringing images in my mind
Yeah.
of when we roll, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this happening. you know?
Yes.
And he was just going through his system. These
Right,
things were lighting up. Bing.
Yeah. I see you. I look at it through the lens of what I call basic mechanics. You're just a bunch of targets. There's shoulder target, elbow target, hand target. Everything is there's a way to optimize the control on the body based on how you're holding, how you're pushing, and certain mechanical aspects. And understanding the turning mechanic of going from your back to your knees and from your knees to your back is a highly overlooked and underrated control mechanism. People just let people turn.
I love this because I have I don't teach I only teach sub. I'm a sub teacher at jiu-jitsu school, so I don't have my own school or anything. So improvisation, that's all I do. So
Yes.
I don't think about
everything.
it.
Everything with me is kind of orchestrated, but it's very difficult to stop.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to stop.
That's why it's so neat.
So supplemental's broken up into leg locks and arm locks. So if you look at supplemental, those are the extremities. Right? So you have chest to back, chest to chest, and then supplemental are the extremities. So attacks on the extremities. The biggest difference between core ground positions where you have chest to back or chest to chest and supplemental is that the chest and the arms are the primary source of control from chest to chest and chest to back, right? But when you get into the extremities, the legs are the primary source of control.
Yes.
If you have an arm bar, you're holding with the legs, and if you have leg locks, you're holding
legs.
with the legs.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
So the control mechanism is different because now you're engaging the legs to control rather than your chest. The chest to chest or chest to back connection in your arms.
Yeah.
So when you look at it through that lens, the simplicity of that lens, and you say, I know that you are stronger here
Better believe it.
than you are here. Yes or no?
Yeah, of course.
So now all I'm trying to do is make your arm do this. So then you fight it back, and then you fight it back, and then you fight it back.
That's right.
But I'm levering because I'm pulling you from here, where the point is optimized. So no matter how hard you pull,
the fulcrum. Yeah, it's like, why are you so heavy? How much do you weigh right now, by the way?
160.
Are you?
Hey, do you think is that too loud?
I think that's easy to edit out.
I mean, we can edit the background fuzz, but then it lowers the quality of our voice sound a little bit too. And you can always hear it when like, oh.
We've never left it on before. Why don't we leave it on for a little bit and then we'll turn it off after we cool down.
And then we can compare
Yeah,
it.
because it's getting a little.
It's pretty hot.
It's getting a little hot in here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nick's dying over there.
Both Nicks are dying.
So did you
Okay,
learn a
continue.
lot of this stuff from Rodrigo, or this is your own kind of system going? Very cool.
What I did when I was fighting was figuring out what worked. Like
yeah, because
splitting the
you were testing. You were in the waters.
I was testing against the best guys, right? So I understood how to take people down. I knew what worked there. I knew what takedowns worked more. I play a game of probability. I know that the battles that I'm choosing, I'm going to more often than not win. And if I lose, the energy exchange is still worthwhile for me. So I fight a game of probability, knowing that maybe I'm going to lose here or there, but if we run the simulation 1,000 times, I know I'm going to win 80% of the time.
Right. You also married
That's
a Gracie
like,
too, right?
I did for a while. Yeah.
And then for a moment, did you at the beginning you were like, I'm probably just going to take the Gracie name? Did you think about that?
I already had 2 world championships when I met her. I don't need to have my own name.
What
I'm just trying to make you laugh, by the way.
What you're talking about with the probability and move or technique selection and battle selection, I feel like that's the biggest thing that kind of goes unspoken with like kind of the top grapplers right now, is that it's just a matter of, because we all have to select what we're going to be good at, right? We can't be good at everything, right? Like if you want,
some things are hard to be good at because they're not effective.
Right, because the probability is against you, right?
Correct.
So all the time
berimbolo
that you spend trying to master the buggy choke, it's like you get really good at that? Yes. But
Sure.
even if you're amazing at it, at best it's 55%.
It has a positional threshold. I'd
Yeah.
say it's got a low positional threshold.
Have you ever been buggy choked?
No. No.
You can tell us. It's okay.
No, the guy that came up with the boogie choke actually, I met him when it started to become a rage, and I'm like,
who
okay,
was that?
oh my god, I forget the guy's name. I'm so sorry.
Was he?
Was his
Is
last
he
name
well known?
Buggy?
No, his last name's not Boogie.
Michael Buggy.
But yeah, like I'm like, okay, put me in the choke,
Right.
and I like felt it, and
Right.
I just framed and waited and popped out of the choke. No big
Right.
deal.
Right.
And then like he goes, there's only been one other person that's ever been able to do what you just did. And he did
No.
it the exact same way that you just did it right now.
Oh, the frame? Was it the frame?
It was the framing. He just framed it. Who was it?
Oh, I don't know. Who was it?
He don't.
Who was the other person?
He don't.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
That
I'm
makes
like,
sense.
Who would have thought
Makes sense.
frames
Yeah.
work, huh?
You know,
Frames work, yes.
And he's pretty relaxed too. Like I think there is no panic
No.
in Hiron's game.
Universal comfort. That's one of the desired results. Universal comfort.
Oh, I like
Standing, ground, top, bottom.
that. Yeah.
He gave me some great advice one time. Some of my favorite advice I've ever gotten in jiu-jitsu. We were at the retreat, and we were playing a game. You take the back, you start with the back, and essentially you're gonna lose because the guy starts with the back and like maybe a seatbelt. And I had a 3rd degree guy, if you ever met him, a heavyweight black belt on
His
my
name is
back.
Guy.
His name's Guy. And he like clamped down on me pretty hard. Went for a chin crank out of the gate, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, oh, it's serious now, you know." And I wasn't going to let him on top of me because we were sitting. We started a sitting position, you know. And so I fought, you know, tooth and nail to finally kind of like get him off of me. And he went for an armbar, and he was very close with the armbar. But Hiron was like, "No, that was terrible." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? I got big crazy guy off me." He was like, "You should, if you just, you could have gone to the bottom and gone to let him mount you, because I was in that position. And you could have used your back and scrape him off you." And I was like, "What? I don't want a big heavyweight guy mounting me." And he was like, "That's because you're not confident in your mount defense." I was like, "Son of a biscuit! I
Yeah.
guess I'm not."
When I first started training with those guys,
Yeah.
I was helping them train for Mark Lehman. Remember when they were doing that? Mike Lehman.
Mark Lehman. That's a name that. Yeah.
So
Do you remember Mark Lehman?
Who was fighting Mark Lehman?
Hito was fighting Mark Lehman
In a grappling match.
in a
must be,
grappling
right?
match.
'Cause
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I had a
He was
friend
the
of mine.
most famous white grappler that I think there was, right? You remember?
So we
him?
had a mutual friend that they're like, "You got to train with Javi. Have Javi come down and train with you guys." So I went down there and trained with them, and I was doing good until I just got tired. Right, like I just got tired. Like I was I wouldn't let him pass. Wouldn't let him pass. Wouldn't let
This is
him pass.
against Hero.
Against him.
Okay.
And then eventually he passed, and I was a bit tired, and then he mounted. This is the time where I wasn't really spending a lot of time on the bottom. Like right now, I'm always on the bottom. I don't care. And he mounted and he tapped me. He mounted and he tapped me. He mounted and he tapped me. And what I realized was, what I learned was, at some point, no matter how good your guard is, somebody will eventually pass, no matter how good you are. And you better understand how to fight from, I call it the 4 configurations now, but from side mount bottom, and understanding how to work from there. Now, if you can frame and put the guy in the guard, great, but can you do it every single time? Not just one time, "Oh, I got him off once." No. Could you do it consistently every time? And I realized that this is a major hole in my game. So I spent 2.5, 3 years just mount bottom, let everybody mount me. I remember when I started the journey, it's like, I'm comfortable just letting anybody on the street just mount me. And I was just like, holy crap, dude, I can't do that.
I know.
I can't do that. Now I can. Now I don't care. But
It's wild, actually. There's like, I've noticed there's kind of
Helio loves a good mount. That's
Yeah.
what he did into the 90s.
That's
Helio
right.
would be 90 years old, right? And he would let guys
Mount me.
Yeah, and he would like let the young guys mount him for a minute and a half and be like, "That's right, you couldn't choke me. Beat it."
But there's a lot of black belts out there that if you can pass their guard, then they're suddenly purple belts.
they got nothing.
They get real panicky.
Yeah, because
it's not that they're panicky, they just don't spend any time there. So
Yes,
their
right.
defense has fallen off. You
it's
know?
not fallen. It hasn't risen.
Right.
There's still a white belt mentality in the side mount, and I think that has to do a lot with my battle in my life, the hill I'm dying on, which is understanding that the rules that are implemented are not productive to success in jiu-jitsu.
The rules are
the jiu-jitsu
points.
rules.
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu rules. We're
Can
kind
you,
of
before you just turn the mic pointed at you. There you go.
so like I think that the rules that are implemented or have been implemented obviously have a
What's the worst one? Point.
Yeah, are we talking about IBJJF? Okay.
I think that the decisions that you make are altered based
Yeah,
on the
sure,
rule set.
of course.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, but those rules aren't designed for a desired result of everyone wanting to finish.
I mean, they did the best. You know, it's like a progression of like changes and stuff like that. But what do you think? What's the worst?
You got to.
It's an
entire mindset. It's an entire mindset. It's the fact of the time. It's the fact. It's the fact of.
Yeah.
It's the fact of the point structure at all. The point structure at all. You're not. You're so concerned about stopping people from passing your guard. Sometimes the effective and efficient thing is to let them pass. Sometimes that is what makes the most sense. Sometimes it doesn't make so much sense to be resisting from angles in the guard where it's uncomfortable and awkward to hold. And here you are sitting there fighting, and then by the time the guy, you hold off for a while, but eventually the guy passes.
And now you're exhausted.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's easier just to let the guy pass and then
Just
recover than it is to resist the pass initially.
Totally.
Well, why is that important? Because now you're instead of doing the right thing, you're doing the thing that prevents the point penalty. So instead of doing the efficient thing, the thing that's most practical, the thing that makes the most amount of sense for this particular interaction, you're choosing to continue to bash your head against the wall, doing the wrong thing over and over because of this mysterious point system. If I'm passing your guard and you turtle, what's the first thing people do? Get the hooks. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the points.
If I was punching somebody, I mean, like when I was fighting, I didn't put hooks in.
Exactly.
So hitting them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So look at how your decisions, now you're changing the position to it's actually a harder position to hold. You can hit better, you can punch better, you can submit better, you can trap the arms better, all from turtle. So why are we inserting the hooks? It's a programming that has been we've been taught that the guard is the secret, and we've been taught that these rules are what jiu-jitsu is. Yet those guys that are world champions, I don't see them becoming world champions in MMA because the style it's not effective for MMA. So the rules that you're creating, the rules that you're following, the rules that you're training under are creating a jiu-jitsu that's less effective than it should be.
That's hard though. You can only do like no rules. You'd have to do
EBI rules. EBI rules.
You like that one?
I do. You're not penalized for taking chances and potentially ending up in bad spots. You have enough time to recover and push a decent pace. It forces you to work on the vulnerable aspects in your game by starting you on your back and on the arm bar. So you're training these positions and training how to get out of these positions quickly. So that's a more practical and effective rule set, and ultimately it's for submission.
My like what I always feel like the downside to the EBI rules is when I roll with guys that train for that, they're very because there's no punches, so they're very willing to give up bad positions because they're like, doesn't matter. It only matters if you tap me, you know.
Correct.
Whereas like
they pin their shoulders to the mat and they don't
put
go
them
turtle.
inside mount, right? They'll you put them inside mount all day, and they're like, I don't care because they're not being tapped.
Yeah, I understand, but that's far better than. I'd rather have them be that confident in bad position. At least that's an applicable skill that we're building. Than ignoring the bottom of the side mount, just getting really good at people preventing from passing the guard.
True. Yeah.
So it's very limiting. So again, I'm trying to, how are we going to grow this as a whole? How are we going to increase the effectiveness as a whole?
Dude, combat jiu-jitsu, man.
I think so. I mean, that's a great solution, but people don't want to get hit.
Right.
Yeah. What's the CJI rules? What are they doing?
It's basically a point system, but rounds. So it's
there's no points. Combat jiu-jitsu?
No.
Oh, no,
CJI.
CJI.
Craig Jones.
Oh, the Craig Jones one. Okay.
Yeah.
The drama. It's so fun right now.
It's like it's a point system. I think it's just like similar to ADCC, like in their point system, but then it's 3 5-minute rounds. It's kind of confusing because it's a 10 must scoring system. So it's like if you score more points, regardless of how many points, you win a 10-9 round, or if you win or a 10-8 round or whatever. But it's still like you have to win 2 out of 3 rounds.
Oh my god, I fell asleep when you were talking about those
I think
points.
it's a bad idea. It's a stupid rule set.
It's the best rule set's EBI. I think it's the best rule set.
Right on.
It is cool.
It gives finality. I used to do tournaments. I used to run tournaments with my ex years ago, and we had no time limit. Every
Yeah.
match.
Did you?
And the
Fun.
matches.
What
if
tournament?
nobody, if it was no time limit in the finals, but every match I think was 10 or 15 minutes. So if you and I drew and nobody submitted, we were both out.
I love that.
What tournament?
Gracie Nationals, Gracie
Oh
Worlds.
yeah, that's right.
Wow,
That was my first ever tournament.
Yeah, those are mine. Those
Was
are
it?
mine.
Really?
Mix. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. My first ever one, I had trained for like 2 weeks total, and I got submitted in like 30 seconds each match.
Yeah, we
glad you had a good
lot
experience.
we had a lot of good matches in those tournaments. But the biggest complaint was,
What?
why are we both out? Because you didn't submit.
He stalled because good
Doesn't
people
matter.
stall.
Doesn't matter.
If you could stall like a better opponent, I would
Yeah.
do that. I would
Yeah.
be like, wow, you're super good. Guess what? We're both out here in 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I still,
telling all my friends.
I still think that produces a better skill set. At least you're not getting tapped. That's a better
yeah.
mindset to have overall.
Yeah.
So I look at the mindset of the individual. That's why it's, 10-time world champion or whatever. They pass my guard, I put him back in. They pass my guard super fast, I put him back in. They pass my guard super fast, put him back in. Eventually, they kind of stop trying to pass. You're almost training them to stop trying to pass.
10-time world champion. You're talking about Hadra Gracie right now?
I've rolled with guys who have won a lot of world championships, and it's the same result.
You just put him back. Just keep going. I had amazing results actually when I applied that. Get way better at my guard or my mount fence. So I would, not let people mount, but if they did get to mount, I would just be super chill about it, and I would wait until they would open up. Eventually, when normally I would kind of fight pretty hard, and then that's when I was vulnerable. I would just wait till they opened up and they were vulnerable. And I had
Makes
amazing
things easier.
success. Oh, I had amazing. I would watch openings go by. I'm like, whoa, you observing. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on this one.
Yeah, you get to a state of observation. You're in a state of presence and observation.
It's really cool.
Yeah, but the only thing the reason why that's not super effective is just time, because it requires time for that to work.
Exactly, for sure.
So if you're rolling with a guy, 5-minute rounds, it's hard to kind of implement that kind of game plan
100%.
With that kind of strategy, because time is the limiting factor. And that's a lot of times what happens is the decisions that competitors are making a lot of times are based on how much time is left on the clock.
Totally. It's a game. It's a game at that point.
I like to, every once in a while at our school, we'll do like sub only. And we'll be like, there's no time on. You're going to roll
Until somebody
the
taps.
class is over if nobody taps.
Oh,
and then
I would hate that.
if there's a submission, then you go to the wall. And so like you're available, right? Like there's a sub, you go to the wall and you find, okay, this person's coming to the wall. Okay. And you just start again, sub only forever. And it's cool because it actually kind of motivates people to get subs
really
faster because they're like, I'm not trying to be rolling for 20 minutes.
I know.
You know what I mean?
But
Like
you got to be careful with your energy, because if you go hard and then they're able to sustain it, now
Right.
you're tired.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, that's
Those are great.
that's
things.
like reality, like with fighting. You know what I mean? It's like how you want to sub the guy, but how conservative should you be? Because if you go balls out for the sub and it doesn't work out, then you kind of screwed
frame by
yourself. You know what I mean?
You have to go frame by frame. You have to win
do you
the
mean?
battles frame by frame.
Like what do you mean by frame?
So for example, if you're in side mount top and I'm hugging your neck, that's
I'm on
one
top.
frame.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
If I frame in front of your neck, that's a frame.
Mm-hmm.
That's one frame. If you're in side mount, I dig an underhook. That's a frame.
Okay,
We went
I
from
get you.
one to the other.
One little battle at a time.
it's when, in order for somebody to turn to their knees, there's a mechanism that's in place. They have to turn to quarter side mount first, and they either come up to their elbow or their knee, and then they come up to the final point. You can't do it any other way than that. It's either you come up one of two ways, and that's it.
Right.
You can't go from side mount to turtle without hitting these,
Doing one of those things.
without going through this exact sequence of events, frame by frame, like click, click, click.
Way to get
click.
on top in that scenario, though. That was respect.
What do you mean?
You in that scenario, you were on top in that. Just so you know.
Wait, he said that.
No, no, he was on top in that scenario, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's on
Yeah,
top.
I'm just saying. Good job.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
on being on top in that scenario.
What starts the process is attention shift. Attention shift is what starts the escaping process. So from side mount, there's 3 tension shifts really. 1 is to frame the neck, 2 is to get the underhook, and 3 is to swim the arm off your neck. That kind of starts your behavior. That starts making you start reacting in one way or the other. If I frame your head, you switch your hips. If I get the underhook, you start to drop your weight.
You better.
You have to. You have to. Because what happens if you don't?
You get flown off.
The guy starts getting out.
Right.
So my behavior is hijacking your behavior, because if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm out.
What if Dirty Nick gets his feet in? Dirty Nick, your student.
There's a trick to that. I already told you. There's a
He's
trick
Dirty
to
Nick?
He goes, yeah, you're Dirty Nick. And sorry, Dirty Nick. But so I noticed you got you can do full butterflies, knees to the ground, can't you? Yeah, that's one of the.
He's the
reasons.
biggest pain in the ass.
Yeah.
He's the biggest pain. Like when I was passing people's guards, I would just split everybody's guard, just split and pass until. And I know what the counter to the split pass is, or one of the counters, which is to use what I call a baby hook, which is your shin across the front of their shin, so you're going kind of shin to shin.
Right.
I generally don't have problems with people bringing their foot in once I've split. It's just not a thing. They don't have an angle
Enough dexterity to get there. Yeah.
until I came across this guy.
Yeah.
So once I came across this guy, I realized that battle, no matter how good I am at it, has a threshold. Each position, each battle has a positional threshold.
North south. You go to north south then.
Everything has a threshold. No. So when he started to bring that foot in, I know from side mount top, from chest to chest top, that it's the bottom knee that is the problem. The bottom knee is what
Chest to
starts
chest top. Right.
everything.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what the top knee does. Even if they're
Okay.
shielding you, if I thread through and block the bottom knee, he can't ever shoot the knee across to face me. So now he's locked into a twisting position, which again engages the central point. So now you're fighting from an uncomfortable position. And either A, you turn, you could try to get the knee through. I last time I rolled with him, I figured that out because I thought about it. I'm like, I'm still going to go after the bottom knee. And then he shot the foot in. And then when he went to get the knee out, he goes, bam, he was stuck.
Let's roll again, Nick. I'm smashing that guard now.
You were doing that on that.
Yeah.
Was I?
Oh, dang, respect.
Nice.
So honestly though, how cool is this to roll first? That we all get to roll first, and then we can actually, because otherwise we're just talking about positions and we're like, I get, it's very hard to audio. It's hard to describe positions and make it make sense.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying
once
to.
we get to engage, it makes a lot of sense.
With this, I'm trying to. Everything is color coordinated in the system. So
It's beautiful.
yeah, so
It's
everything
gorgeous.
orange is back mount, everything yellow
Nice.
is turtle, everything green is mount. So when you're reading the maps, I have maps that are leading you through I call it a timeline of events, right? So as I'm doing that, you start seeing the color. The color automatically triggers the position. So what it starts doing is starts popping a visual in your head. So it starts to run the reel in your head.
So you see colors when you roll, is what you're saying.
The colors are designated to positions. So I don't see the color, I just see the position after a while.
So you really reminded me of Josh Waitskins, if you might be familiar with that. He made Marcelo Garcia's website. He's a black belt under Marcelo Garcia.
He's the guy that wrote Art of Learning. He's also the guy that the movie Finding Bobby Fischer is about him.
Oh, really?
So he's the number 1 ranked chess player from 8 to 18 years old, and in the 2004 Tai Chi National Push Hands Champion, which is pretty cool.
World push hands champion.
World person. Oh, so one of
And he was a jiu-jitsu world champion up to brown belt. He didn't win anything at black belt. He was a little.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was up to brown belt. Respect.
Yeah.
to,
And one of the first guys to get their black belt from
Professor
Marcelo.
Waitskins.
Yeah, he's
but
a G.
One, top G for sure. But one of the things he says is when he was teaching kids chess, there is a timeline of reality, and he says that what happens is you are winning, or let's say you start winning, you feel good, you're winning, doing cool stuff, and then something happens and you get a move down, and now you're even.
Yeah.
Except for you have a winning mentality. So he says that what happens to young chess players is the downward spiral of compound errors.
Yep.
So they make one mistake, and then they keep the mentality of I'm winning, even though I'm even now. But I just, like progress outside the realm of reality. I get like this offshoot where this is reality, but I'm out here like I'm doing this. And you're describing things a lot in that way, which is pretty cool.
Same thing. Yeah. Like I started to recognize that it's much easier to behave in a way that leads an opponent rather than fighting the opponent every second of the way.
Sure.
I recognize that by optimizing the control, immediately it makes the opponent strain harder for the same amount of
perfect
effort, right? So by leading them in a particular way, by understanding that everything is configuration theory, there's some configurations that are green, there's some configurations that are red. We go away from the red and towards the green and fight from the greens. So now if you don't know which ones are green and which ones are red, you're just kind of lost and everything is coming at you very quickly.
Yeah.
But
So is that like red is when the odds are against you?
Yes, where the probability is less, where the probability is less than 50. The green zones, the probability is more than 50.
Yellow, you better slow down.
Green and red.
Oh, all right.
Green and red. It's pretty.
I just want to be a part of the conversation.
It's pretty simple. Like, again, some configurations you're far more vulnerable than others. So that's a red. Some configurations, maybe you're not in a great spot, but it's your best next step. You're the next best place to be, because if your arm is on this side rather than that side, things are worse. So you know that at the very least you're working towards the right direction.
So I really am curious about. You've had so many fights. You've been you're a pioneer in MMA. I mean, just looking at the list of organizations that you've been with and stuff, I was interested in some a little bit of fight stories. I'm kind of like excited to hear the best and the worst. Did you have like some super quick subs that were super fun and things went down right?
What's your favorite fight memory?
I think the Jens Pulver fight, because it was just such a long. I wanted that fight for so long, and then I retired, and then I came back, and then the opportunity got presented to me. So I think that was a real big one, just because there's a lot going on personally in my personal life that I was dealing with. So I think I was coming off of 2 losses, which I'd never had 2 losses in a row, and there were 2 losses that I should have won. Those are pretty bad decisions.
Yeah. So what was your head at going into that? Like, how were you feeling
into the Jens fight?
Yeah.
I had to win.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about this. Where was his head at? Because I have a theory. If you spend too much time on your hair, that I feel like you're going to lose, because that's time you should have been training. And he kind of like went real wacky on his hair.
I don't know about tell that to Sugar Sean.
They did a documentary when he fought me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
from his perspective,
okay. which was pretty interesting, because I knew what I was thinking on my side. So,
what did you watch it? Were you like, oh, really? That was
the end. It says that he lost by armbar to me.
You were like, I can't wait to get through this documentary.
I feel like every time they do a documentary like that, because when you do a documentary real time, you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
They did one with Chad George too, and it was like basically about his comeback, and it was just like inspiring. Like, this is the one. He's gonna, burst back into the scene. Then he lost,
and it was like, oh,
that was a bad movie.
And then the Smashing Machine. They were like, we're going to do a cool documentary. Oh, you're a drug addict.
That had a tough turn. How
about The Rock is going to play Mark Kerr in the Smashing Machine? Have you heard that?
No.
How fun is that going to be? The Rock's. Oh, man, I'm super excited.
Will it be good?
I'm excited for it. Have you ever seen the Smashing Machine?
I'm just saying that, how many good movies does The Rock make these days?
Oh my God, Nick. The Rock makes amazing movies.
The Rock peaked at Scorpion King.
You better get out of here with this. His Instagram and his cheat days are fire.
So the Jens one was your. So what was the? Because I've never seen the documentary with Jens. So what about what was going through his mind that was surprising to you?
He was going through a lot. He's had some pretty tough things happen in his life. And
was he still with the Militech team? Or did he leave them?
I think it was definitely towards the tail end of it. I don't think
Was it?
there was Miletich guys in his corner when I fought him.
Really?
I don't think so. This was after he had fought Dwayne. We went to Canada, and Dwayne knocked him out. Like he left the UFC, gave up the belt, and then started
Dwayne
fighting.
Ludwig?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So he
When you said you had a friend in Denver, were you talking about Dwayne? Because that's what.
Dwayne's another one. Yeah, Dwayne's a good
okay.
friend of mine too. But
Nice.
Steve Ordinsky's in Littleton, who's a good friend of mine too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was when I lived there. I was training with Dwayne for about 2.5, 3 years.
Dwayne's the one that told me when I showed him this. It was Dwayne that told me, he goes, Javi, I know how good you are, but it's too much. I can't do it. It's too much. I know you're good.
Oh, this?
Yes. And he goes, make it simpler.
Oh,
This was years ago. This is when I was writing the books. And he was and I showed him that. He goes, Javi, it's too much. He goes, I know it works. I know you're going to figure out how to translate it, but it's too much for right now. And that was at the same time that he was writing his curriculum.
Uh-huh.
So, jiu-jitsu, I think, is a little bit more complex than striking. I think striking is a little bit simpler to kind of systemize. And he's done a good job with it. That's the same striking system that I learned was Boss's system.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean that's
Obviously, he's far better than me, but I know the basic mechanics of the system.
that's what like drew me to train with him because not a lot of strikers are systemized thinkers. You know what I mean?
It makes it easier.
Yeah.
It's the only way I learned striking was to do it that way.
Yeah.
It made it a lot more plausible. The thing that I missed was footwork. That's as far as the striking combinations, movement, and all that. I think it's a good system. Maybe Dwayne implements more than I learned because this is
He does. He
many
teaches
years.
a lot of footwork.
Yeah,
A lot of footwork.
Back in the day, that was my weak link was the footwork. I only learned really how to get better at footwork like my last fight when I fought Joe Stevenson in the UFC.
Does footwork really matter? If I've seen Boss Rutan's street fighting video, and so since I've seen that, do you think I'm effective in the street if I can get a chair and in front kick to the groin?
I was a bouncer for 5 years.
Were you?
Yeah. So I've been in plenty of like kind of bar fights and
Have you?
yeah. Thank God I never got stabbed or shot. But
Yeah.
bar fights are wild, man. You gotta people throwing chairs, people.
Did you use
Sucker
Boss's
punches?
tactics
I never hit
to
anybody.
talk to the guy first?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember his tactics? He would say he had a little story. He'd be like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And they'd be like, "I'm a plumber." "Are you a good plumber?" They'd be like, "Yeah, I guess." And then he'd be like, "You know what I do? I kick people out of this bar." And I'm good at it. Super good. So, and you need to go, sir.
I never hit anybody. I just choke people and drug them out.
Yeah.
Choke them, drug them out. Choke them, drug them out.
I was
Out. You choke them out,
Oh yeah.
and then just carry them out over your shoulder, or
Just drag
with
them
a
by
friend?
just drag them by their neck out.
Just by their neck.
I always tell people that before Uber existed, like bouncing was the unofficial sponsor of underpaid fighters.
Of course.
All the fighters were always bouncers, and then Uber came around, and then like, dude, you get an Uber, 10% chance that guy's an MMA fighter. Because they all need flexible schedules
Dana
so they
White.
can go to practice in the middle of the day and shit. You know what I mean?
You listen to this, Dana White. Pay your fighters.
Yeah. So
So Jens Pulver.
Jens
Finish that
Pulver.
up. So why? Yeah. Just how did the match go completely? I haven't seen it.
You submitted him, right? I think I watched highlights.
Caught
of it.
him,
I
baby.
took him down, beat him up,
Dang
and tapped him. I mean, yeah, he didn't know.
Amazing.
He didn't. He was like, he felt very, very, very human when I grabbed him. I thought I was expecting like super strong, super explosive.
Yeah,
right?
because I think he was deceptive. I think he was
Yeah.
deceptively good. Like you didn't expect what he
When I grabbed him, I felt like
he felt very human.
very human.
I like what you said. He didn't know. He didn't know. That's the first thing he said. No, he didn't know. He didn't know the thunder I was bringing.
But
That's cool.
the other one was Ramina Sato when I fought in Japan.
Oh, whoa, crazy! Yeah,
That was crazy.
Japan.
Yeah, that was crazy.
What?
Because back in the day, it was like if you went down there, you didn't go down there to win. You went down there because they were bringing you in to lose.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
you were.
So,
that was Shudo.
Shudo.
Wow, I didn't realize the Shudos were they all in Japan?
No, I fought Shudo out here. I fought Rob Emerson out here in
Okay.
Las Vegas.
Did they ask you to lose?
No,
No.
they just
You
assumed
were
I would.
Yeah, you were fresh meat.
They're like, nah, we don't need to tell him. Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
But you want it. You want,
So
right?
it went. Yeah, it went to a decision, and it was a pretty one-sided pounding.
Yeah.
And I still thought I lost because I'm like, they're just gonna give it to this guy. But,
right,
Right.
They gave it to you.
Yeah.
Dang, respect. Get
Hell
some.
yeah.
So how long did you stay in Japan? What was Japan like?
I hated it.
Really?
Get out of
I
here,
didn't
really?
like it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
The air quality seemed not like the same, and then like the jet lag was not great.
How long were you there? Did you not have enough time?
I think I was there like 7 or 8 days.
Can't you just get women out of like vending machines there and stuff too?
You know, when I fought, I was, you know, even to this day, and he like, you know, people around me know I'm pretty introverted. So I kind of just stayed in the hotel, stayed focused, won my match, got my check, and went home.
You didn't find the waterfall that Hickson stuck his head under? You didn't just go to that mountain and take some Hickson energy?
No.
Like
I would
a
have
samurai?
I would have never gotten into cold water back then.
Oh,
really?
Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Unless it was like 80 degrees, I wasn't getting in the
Really?
water. 100%.
Oh, respect, Professor, because you did. You did.
The first time I did that, dude, I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's so good.
Yeah.
So you realize you didn't die, and you're like,
Yeah,
whoa.
the first time I did it, I dipped. So I like dipped in and dipped out, and then the second time I did it was like whatever, like 6 or 8 months later.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I think I could stay for a minute, and then I did a minute, and I felt like dying.
Yeah.
Well, the first minute's the hardest part.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
So I didn't know
You just
that.
did the dying part.
I did the dying part. I didn't get the benefit part. So that's why I asked you when we were there. I said, dude, I feel it's like the shock. How do you do that? I'm like, I can't calm down. I eventually calmed down, and it took me about 3.5 minutes. And he's like, no, I can't get that down to about a minute.
Yeah.
So then when you showed me how to do it, I'm like, yeah, it was still cold. I still didn't want to do that third minute, but
you did 3 minutes.
I did two.
You did 2. And then, but you used the breath work. So you're at the workshop at Grace University last weekend. And what did you think? Were you able so you say it in a minute using that?
2 minutes. 2 minutes. It took me a minute to kind of
That's what
calm
I mean.
down.
You got calm in a minute.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Is cold plunging still relatively new to you?
Yeah. I got to get really mentally psyched.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
That reminds me, just getting on the vein of health stuff, a completely different fight for you is that you had cancer and recovered from it.
Yeah.
So I want to get into what you did because you didn't do it through chemo, right?
No.
Or you did
No
some
chemo at all.
and-
No chemo, no.
Dang, I've been dying to the Gershwin therapy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Gerson.
what?
Yeah.
Gerson therapy.
Okay.
So that's the protocol that I used to beat the cancer. So like from the time I got 2017 was a rough year. 2017 was a rough year. So I got diagnosed in June. I had
You got cancer and got divorced in the same year?
and I lost my academy, and I had to open up another academy,
Oh,
and
my
I got
goodness.
promoted. Like it was a rough year. It was a rough year.
Whoa.
It was a rough year. So I ended up getting cancer in June. I filed for divorce in March. Then I got cancer in June. Then in August I had surgery. Then in November I was already cured. And
You
then
said it was colon cancer.
yes, stage 3.
I really wanted to ask is, do
Stage
you
3.
attribute anything to it? Was it your diet? Like, do you like?
It was the protocol. It was the mindset. It was the work ethic.
No, sorry. Yes, getting over it. For sure. I mean, I can't wait to get into that. But the getting of cancer. Do you
I
have any
understand.
ideas?
I understand why it happened.
Do you?
Yes, 100%.
What happened?
Your thoughts can make you healthy, and your thoughts can make you sick. So if your mind starts to spiral out of control, and you're constantly feeling negative thoughts, and those thoughts produce feelings. Those feelings are chemical dumps that your brain is producing into your body. The longer that you continue to think those thoughts and not purge the negativity, and it continues over a period of time, your body denigrates and starts to develop cancer cells. That's how it happened.
My mom's been an emergency room nurse for a million years, and she said stress is acid rain on your body. She said like mental stress, like the stress you put on yourself.
My doctor told me, he goes, how are you even here? She goes, you're an athlete. I was a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
She's like, are you a meat eater? I'm like, no, I was vegan at the time. So you're under a lot of stress. I'm like, stress is through the
You were
roof.
vegan at the time that you got diagnosed?
Yes.
In stage 3, you skipped the other stages?
Yes.
You just
straight for the jugular.
No, yeah, you go hard. Whatever you do, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
So I never realized the relationship between your thoughts and your body. didn't think that they were connected.
I mean, stress is like the biggest.
Yeah,
it's the
I was
killer.
always so good at kind of just shelving emotion, shelving negativity from fights. I'd just be able to just go into a different mental state. And I was always so good at just kind of ignoring. But over time, as you do that and not addressing the problem, the problem builds. The same thing with the carbon dioxide in your lungs. If you're not purging that stuff out and giving your body a certain amount of recovery time, but it's
Great analogy.
it's like regulation, like your body's natural regulation, your homeostasis,
Yes.
right? So if you're out of homeostasis for too long, then your body starts becoming acidic and it starts to break down. Well, that's when I came across Wim's stuff, because I had to calm my mind down. My mind was spinning out of control. So
How'd you come across Gershwin therapy?
when I was fighting in my early 30s, when I was in the WEC, I just was having a very hard time recovering. I always felt tired, and I was working super hard. So I'm like, how am I working super hard and I'm still this tired? It made no sense. So I started looking into supplements. I started looking into like nutrition, and then I came across Charlotte, because they were talking about, because I was looking into veganism and changing my diet. So this old lady was always popping up talking about, we've been curing cancer since 1912 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they have a cure for cancer. So I just put it in the back of my mind, like, okay.
What's the protocol?
Tell him,
The protocol is broken up into 4 parts. There's fresh juices that you're supposed to do. I had to do up to 12 a day. At the maximum. You slowly go up 6, 9, 12. 12 is the maximum a day. So you're 12 hours a day, you're taking juices, right?
Okay.
Every juice has
a lot of pooping.
I would say that
every juice,
setting toilet paper on fire.
every juice has an accompanying, basically, supplement protocol that goes along with it.
Okay.
So that's the second part of supplementation. Third is the food.
When you say supplementation, is it like whole food supplements?
No.
Or is it like specific vitamins
Yes.
and minerals? Okay.
Your blood work is drawn, and then based on your blood work, they're supplementing you accordingly to whatever you're lacking.
Okay.
So then the final part is detoxification. They do it through coffee enemas. They do it through castor oil. They do it through you could do it through UV light, the red light. What's it called?
Does it?
Ultrasonic.
I've heard that you
Ultraviolet.
get a lot of toxins come out in your sweat when you do that, as opposed to like a hot sauna.
Yeah.
That actually the red light.
And then
works
I started doing breath work. I started doing sound healing. I started doing, I threw everything at the problem, but it was like 2 years of just thinking of health.
How often do you do
Wait,
coffee enemas?
At the peak,
Sure.
4 a day.
Woo! Dang, you are fresh and squeaky clean down there, huh?
I'll tell you.
Wow.
I'll tell you what it does is it gives you, the diet gives you clarity. You see the world, and you're very sensitive to energy. I feel very sensitive to energy vibration. I could feel your energy.
Oh, thank
So
you.
I can feel your thoughts.
Good, or is it?
I feel insecure now.
You can't feel you're clouded. It's all that, that McDeezy you eat.
So yeah, I think that it allows you to think very clearly. Mm-hmm. So
I've heard that.
So I've been, over the past 7 years, this is all I've been doing, is just kind of simplifying everything and seeing things very clearly.
So I'm super curious. What's your coffee protocol now?
I do between 2 and 3. The reason a day.
week?
A day. Coffee
day.
enemas a day.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
The reason
You
is
can do them at home?
Yes.
Oh.
Very easy.
Oh.
Very easy. The reason, one, I don't get sore. It pulls out the toxins immediately. So I'll train or go for a 60-mile bike ride, go do treatment, and I'm not sore the next day.
Wow.
So it pulls out the stuff instantly out of your bloodstream. The other thing that it does is, because my colon, I had to have a resection surgery, so they cut a foot of my colon, so that was super painful. And because of that, it just eases the digestive process. So the way I look at it is, I'm just helping my body flush out the toxins, so they're not unnecessarily kind of building in my.
Does that tighten up your abs a little though? You lose a little colon, and you're like,
no.
Just trying to think of the positive side.
Before you got there, about 45 minutes before you arrived,
Brutal.
Javi cured like a nagging injury that I've had.
Get out of here!
Yeah,
What?
Within like 5 seconds. So if you remember, I was telling you a while ago I rolled with Barrett Ishida.
Yeah.
And I remember me telling you he put me in a wrist lock. That honestly, it didn't hurt. Like, and I just because
your wrist.
He's a well-known guy. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that guy that like, no, I'm not tapping. You know what I mean? So I was like, nice one.
Yeah,
tapped.
yeah.
But it honestly, if it was somebody else, I would not have tapped. It didn't feel tight.
Okay.
But my wrist fucking hurt has hurt for months. Like it didn't hurt at the moment.
Yeah.
And then when later I was like, dude, my wrist is killing me. And it's been hurting for like months and months.
Yeah.
And I realized that subconsciously, like the part about it not hurting wasn't actually relevant to the story. I just wanted to be like, he didn't actually wrist lock me. Just
right, like I wasn't gonna tap, but I was like, yeah. But I
realized that now
because he's the man.
I subconsciously slipped that.
Have you ever had you rolled with Barrett?
I'd love to roll with Barrett.
Oh man, he gets down to at Legion. He comes sometimes and Barooms. You ever go to Barooms? Barooms.
I live in my little bubble.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna have you down, man. There's the open mats on Sundays are amazing, and Barooms would be a super cool place. It's a real small place, but Alfredo Baroom started the open mat thing going on in San Diego.
But wait, so my wrist was hurting for months.
Yeah, months.
And Nick's wrist was hurting, and then he was doing the thing, and I was just looking at him being in pain.
Yeah.
Dirty Nick over here.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
And so I was like, oh yeah, I have the same thing. He laid me down, and he more or less, released like the muscles
Release
of
your
my
energy.
forearms.
It
Yeah.
was just an energy bound.
What,
Dude, it like
is this some Tai Chi
dude,
Qigong?
instantly I could feel my whole arm just go and just like
Really?
tension just like let go, and he like pulled my fingers back, and so like I couldn't post my hand on the mat and put weight on that for a while. And look, I mean,
Yeah.
right?
What?
That's as far as my wrist has ever gone.
I mean, that's more than me. Mine don't even go flat.
Nick would tell me, I'm like, you want me to fix it? And he's just like, no. And then like, now he's like, my wrist is hurting. I'm like, you want me to fix it? He's just like, yeah, go ahead. And then I do it.
It was insanely painful.
So this is what I discovered about what during my healing process. I learned about this. I call it maintenance and recovery, right? So when your wrist hurts, when your elbow hurts, it's the same muscles. So what I do is I tense the muscle, I attack the muscle directly.
Okay.
And then I just kind of strip it on the way down. As I'm doing, when I apply the pressure, everything tenses. Your shoulders, your neck, everything. You do this, and I say, breathe, deep breaths in. The air substitutes the pain, removes the pain. The more air you take in, the more the pain goes away. So when you regulate your breath, you can start to feel the pain being thrown away.
Oh, you told me this with the biking. This is so cool.
Yeah, it's the same thing with massage. So I relaxed you. You felt I said relax your hips, and I just walk you through, and you go dun 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 dun. You felt your whole body go. Dun.
Yeah, totally.
The second it dropped, now I just strip, and then you felt it at the end. At the very end, it pops.
Yep,
Was
for
it.
sure.
Really?
Same thing with him. Same thing.
How
happened
did you
with him.
learn this? Did you
Trial and
discover
error.
this?
Trial and error.
Really?
Me
my God.
being worked on,
That's
and
awesome.
then seeing what worked for me.
Yeah.
But I have a high pain tolerance, so some people just can't take it. But when I do it, they're like, it's so intense, especially the neck and stuff. And there's certain, like the forearm is very intense, the hip is very intense. But there's ways to. I say massage is a scam.
Okay.
I say it's a scam because what these guys are doing is, for example, the neck. I start from the bottom to the top on the neck, and I can get your neck done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And these guys go and they do your neck for an hour, and it feels like okay.
Yeah.
Because they start from the top to the bottom. I talked to my friend who's a massage therapist. I'm like, you guys are taught to go top to the bottom. I go, why? The bigger muscles are at the bottom. You're actually releasing more of the muscle quicker if you start from the bottom to the top. He goes, yeah, it takes longer for us to go to top to the bottom. I'm like, of course it does, because you're benefiting not by fixing the person, but you're benefiting by keeping them on the table longer. So maybe they are fixing it, but there's a faster way to fix it. Remember I was telling you, rapid results. I want rapid results. I don't want to be 3 hours on a massage table if you can get it done in an hour and a half.
Let's get into that next. I don't know how long we have, or I don't even know what's going on.
I was gonna say if your goal is to beat the traffic, we're getting close to that time.
Okay.
Did you want to finish what you were saying there with your program?
I really want to
find out
know about the quick. You're saying that you can progress people quickly, and so do you have like a simple strategy that you use that you think that's not being used, where you can progress people quickly?
Well, it kind of depends on the position. My philosophy is that each position has a central path. Each position has a best way to attack and defend from, I believe. If you look at probability and consistency, I believe that there is a best way to fight from each position.
Does it change at all depending on body type?
Nope. The mechanics are the mechanics. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's true.
The step-by-step is still the step-by-step. Now, the only thing with me is like, of course, I can't win every single second of every single round all the time. Of course, I'm going to lose that battle here and there. But I understand that just because I've lost that battle, that doesn't mean that that's not the battle I should be fighting. Right?
Yeah.
Just because you're failing at a particular battle doesn't mean that that's wrong. It just means that you have to adapt and fix the battle. But a lot of people just change the battle altogether to maybe another battle that has less probability. No, right. I'm like, I jackhammer. I call it relentless persistence. You get it out, I put it back in. You get it out, I put it back in. You get it out, I put it back in. And by doing that over and over, what I'm doing is I'm subconsciously training you to accept. You have both butterfly hooks in, I get rid of one. You put it back in, I clear one. You put it back in, I clear one. Eventually what happens is you stop putting it back in.
Right.
Great, like, now it's split.
So this obviously works in lovemaking too.
Of course. Of course. But I believe just on logic, for example, if I take your back, is it better if I trap your arm or I do not trap your arm? Is it better to trap the arm?
Of course.
Better for you if you trap my arm. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Is that disputable?
No.
That's a universal truth.
Yeah,
I call that a universal truth.
Right.
So if I put your hand behind your back, does that make things better or worse for me?
Better
for you.
So now so then the question becomes, how many different ways can I get your hand behind your back? Nick, how many different ways?
So many count.
30.
Nick said so many he can't count.
Too many.
So
what I do is I consider the hand behind the back an OFP, an optimized finishing position.
Oh, like that acronym.
Right?
Powerful.
So my goal is to always get to OFPs. We've already there's no discussion that an OFP is better than a standard position. Yes. So what's an OFP for mount? Head and arm.
Head and arm.
What's in?
Yeah.
What's in?
How about the lock behind the butt? Like they get from mount. Do you get the lock your feet
we have
behind
to
the
go.
butt?
We have to go somewhere. Where are we leading them to? See, the reason I think that the head and arm is an OF. The reason that I think that the head and arm is an OFP is because it doesn't take a whole lot of effort for us to hold it, and the experience that the guy is having underneath you is very intense.
It's a bad one.
It's a bad experience. So the longer I can keep you in the head and arm, the more your mind starts to shift from standard to reactive to panic. So I know that
the realm of
what you're going through in your mind and what I'm going through in my mind are two completely different experiences. All I do is make your experience be far harder and labor intensive than mine.
Yeah.
If I allow time to pass, you will always be tired. That's a universal truth. There's no question about that. Every energy exchange, I want it to be as efficient for me as possible and as inefficient for you as possible.
So this seems like it's a little bit of the difference between being technical and being tactical.
It's
because
both.
Like it's definitely there's technique to it, of course. But there's like a sea of techniques out there. But then where the tactics come in is like, okay, well, like which fight are we going to fight? You know what I mean?
I choose those fights.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And what are the most important fights to have? The hands.
The hand fight.
And
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So when you design an entire system based on hand control, all of the leaves, all of those options are illusions. They're not even possible. You might think they're possible, but because you don't have access to what is the root controlling mechanism, which are the hands, they are no longer available.
Right.
So I'm limiting the scope of what you can actually do. Notice that you put me in the garden and I brought your knees together. I know that your knees together are far less effective for you than your knees apart. Yes? Universal truth. So do I want your knees together or do I want your knees apart?
Together.
When?
Always.
Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not.
He makes me feel so good because I answered the right question.
Because
if I got him wrong, I would feel terrible.
Now, am I teaching you moves? What moves have I taught you?
No, you're teaching me universal truths.
Universal
First
truths
principles.
are far more important than moves.
Yeah.
How do you structure a class where your students can practice these things?
The classes are built.
The meat grinder. That's what he's showing us right now. What is the meat grinder? Let's talk about it.
That's side mount. We covered this.
Side mount top.
Oh.
The side mount top, the turtle transition, the meat grinder, and then from mount to back mount is the mount grinder.
Nice. So when you teach a class, do you teach warm up, 3 moves, and roll? Like
no, what we're working on each week is a particular perspective. So we take the central path in each particular perspective and we go through the basics I walk you through the basics. So side mount bottom, it's all about 4 configurations. The framing of the neck, the clearing the arm off the neck, or the digging of the underhook. Those are your 3 options from side mount. So
But when you say swimming the arm off the neck, what do you mean? Trimming their arm off of your neck?
The
crossface?
Okay, so side mount is made up of 2 tethers. The underhook on the far side arm and the neck hug. Those are 2 tethers.
Okay.
You can release one of the tethers and then attack with that arm, but one tether always has to remain attached because if not, then you start floating off. The guy starts being able to push you far away, enough away that your knee starts coming across and now distance has been filled. Right? So lost my train of thought.
We were talking about, you were saying there was three paths, and I was just clarifying what you meant by swimming the arm off the neck. So you're saying
swimming the arm
clearing
off,
the crossface.
Yeah, so
like getting the inside position to block that arm around your
arm
head.
around the neck is what's keeping you in side mount. That is what is most problematic for people to deal with is the arm around the neck. If the arm is not on the neck, it's not that tough to get out of side mount because now you're able to turn. What's the arm limits your ability for your shoulders to turn.
Right.
So there's a bunch of different ways to get the arm off the neck. I can make you let go of the arm off my neck. But if you don't understand the importance of the arm on the neck, people just grab it and let it go. But when you let go of my neck, you're never going to see that arm back on my neck again. I'm really good at keeping it off my neck. So I'm fighting from configurations. That's the way I look at it. I'm not looking at moves. I'm fighting from configurations. From the top perspective in side mount, what am I trying to do? Lazy boy the far side arm, isolate the far side arm and staple the near side arm. Why not? Because I can just punch you in the head whenever I want. So it starts happening.
You did bad.
Take that.
So what starts happening is it starts to generate a turning behavior. So you go from side mount to quarter side mount. So quarter side mount
People
when they
don't
start
talk about that much either, do they? Almost
Talk about
never.
Talk about what?
Quarter
Just
side
turning
mount?
just that people would call that a scramble in most cases, but that's
it's controlled.
Yeah.
It should be controlled. So you go from side mount to quarter side mount. Now there's quarter side mount front and then there's quarter side mount rear. So either the person is facing away from you and your chest is on their shoulder, or they're facing into you and now they're more on their side. Now quarter side mount front has 2 positions. You have the arm in front or the arm is isolated. If the arm is isolated, you can just roll him back to his back. If the arm transfers to the front, now when the hands are together, we want to cross them. Why? Did you feel me crossing your arms ever?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Did it feel like easy to move and turn, or did it feel like super hard?
That's where you're weak.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
That's
trouble.
where you're weak.
Bunch of trouble.
Like
So-
straitjacking.
in.
Yep. So basically what I'm doing is I'm putting you in these positions and saying move. And which way are you going to move? You have to.
Turn away.
Yeah, isn't that what I want you to do? So now I am motivating you to do what I want you to do.
Go to the rear. I like the rear. Nick knows what I'm talking about over there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nick's like, I should have stayed home.
I like having you here, Nick. I hope you join again just so we can talk to you off mic. Can't even defend yourself. Sorry, buddy.
It's 2:30, and I know from personal experience, if you're going to try to drive through Temecula any later than this, it's
that's a good
going to
call.
get rough.
This was awesome. This
Yeah.
was incredible. It was so much fun. Thank you.
How
Thank you,
can if people want to check out more of this and learn from you, and what are the
JV Jiu Jitsu Online. I have an academy in Rancho Cucamonga. They can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram has gotten a little bit popular there. JV Jiu Jitsu at JV Jiu Jitsu. But JV Jiu Jitsu Online, we're putting everything up online. I've been teaching seminars, which are basically chapter introductions, kind of laying out the central path in each chapter. We're finishing up our subscription library, which has like 800 videos. Then when the central paths, I've got so much content that's going to change everything.
That's awesome.
So everything now, what I'm doing is I'm going through the artwork and just kind of doing the presentations to simplify the complexity.
Okay.
I think when it's broken down and you see it in front of you,
digestible.
It makes it more digestible, and then you can see. And then these lectures, if you listen to them 2-3 times, it slowly starts to shift your focus away from the moves and start to shift it into configuration theory.
Nice.
Well, we don't have a ton of subscribers yet, but our 650 people that listened to the last one or whatever, we're gonna put your links in the show notes and everything.
Yeah, we
Cool
appreciate
stuff that
you
you're
coming
doing.
all the way out here and training with
awesome.
us and talking with us. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Good day,
fun.
Professor.
Good day.
Thank you guys for having me.
Dirty Nick, man.
Yeah. For everybody that's listening, there's another Nick in the room. I'm not Dirty Nick.
Oh, you're
We have to
sweating.
find a distinguishing characteristic.
sweating.
Apparently, we went with
Sweaty,
dirty
sweaty
for
shirt.
whatever.
I am sweaty Nick for sure. Okay. Thank you all for listening.
This has been awesome. Please, guys, like and subscribe. Drop kick that bell. Donkey punch the bell to make sure you get the new stuff. And we're just super happy to keep this up. And we got a lot of good feedback from Grace University. A lot of the participants were like, "Oh, dang, we're listening to the Boss Rolls podcast."
Oh, really?
That's what I said. Oh, really? Oh, shit. All right. Well, we're doing something that's fun. And that's our goal is to. It's so much fun to roll, and it makes a lot of sense now. I knew we had a good idea, but it makes a lot of sense to roll first. And then we can chat about stuff, and it just makes
Yeah, that was cool to talk about certain things where it was like triggering memories. I'm like,
right afterwards.
Yeah.
It's by design.
Connect the two.
The biggest thing is everything I do is by design. And maybe it's not going to be everybody every single time, but I think that it beats the vast majority of people the vast majority of the time. So I think that that's a great starting point of information to push out to the beginners. It's got to be simple, and it's got to be effective over the vast majority of individuals.
That's all you can ask, right? Anybody that tells you they can show you how to beat everybody every time, they're lying to you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probability. There's definitely better choices than others.
Right. Yeah.
But it's tough to win every second of every round.
Right.
Well, your experience and your thoughtfulness behind this are very evident. So I think people would do really well to learn more from you. So we'll definitely
Thank you,
point them in
guys.
that direction.
All right, guys.
Man,
Thanks for
cheers.
listening. Till next time.
Here we go.
Peace.